there is a concern that in many of what we call later-day democracies, they may not be embedded in a civil society. That in fact many of our democracies could be still in the state of nature, where democracy is now operating in the absence of rules, in the absence of regulations, in the absence of social order. And therefore, there's no predictability. And when that happens, then democracy is in danger. The question to ask ourselves is that, are we citizens? Because if democracy is implanted on a society that is not a civil society, it cannot dominate.
Very nice insights. And picking up from there, do you think this view by Socrates would apply to us students?
It would apply. It would apply because then the question we have to ask ourselves, democracy is like a seed that is being planted. Do we have soil in our society? Do we have soil in which the seed of democracy can germinate and thrive? What kind of soil do we need? We need a soil where there's social order. We need a soil where there is authority and authority is legitimate. We need a soil where there are institutions, working institutions, thriving institutions, people respecting those institutions. We seem to be having a society in which, one, there's no clear social order. Two, there is a contest in terms of legitimacy of authority. And three, leaders seem to want to evade institutions and operate outside institutions. When that happens, then we are staring in the fear that Socrates was talking about. A fear that our society may not be created, may not be structured in such a way that democracy can thrive. We seem to take democracy as something that we engage with every 5 years for the purpose of getting leaders. Democracy is not a contest for power. Democracy is a covenant between the people and the state. And when that does not happen, then democracy cannot thrive.
Very nice message, Chairman. Now, we've mentioned institutions and the importance. Yes. If we are to plant this seed of democracy and have it germinate in a way that is best for us as citizens.
Yes.
Now, recently, Parliament and its members have been branded as lords of corruption. Or some people say that they are lords of corruption. And we've had a lot of heated reaction from this.
Yes.
So, what is your view of this subject?
Well, the branding of members of parliament as lords of corruption, I think is a testament of the vibrancy of our institutions and the vibrancy of our democracy, that people can air their views. And so, to that extent, it is a good thing. But I think that many people, and I'll probably add my voice to that, that the corruption among members of parliament is probably the worst kept secret. Long before anyone branded members of parliament those of corruption, the civil society had already branded them the MPs, denoting the thinking that, and you know what pigs do? The pigs are probably the dirtiest of all animals that we have. I mean, there's no law that pigs can sink to just eat, you know. And it doesn't matter how dirty they look. And when people equated members of parliament to MPs, it will show you that these are now members of parliament who, in terms of democracy, hold a very important institution which is called parliament. They represent the people, they oversight power. And yet, if MPs are being equated to pigs, meaning that nothing stops them from doing anything as long as they benefit individually, there is a problem, therefore, of institutions. And you remember when the MPs were called lords of corruption by none other than the president himself, you know. Members in their defense would argue that why is the president calling us lords of corruption when we have been doing all these things for him? I remember the member of parliament from Kenya eloquently explaining how they have been voting for bills at the behest of the president, and therefore wondering why the president would call them names after doing work for them. Therein then shows that in fact Parliament is not an independent institution, because Parliament is supposed to oversight the executive. When we get to a state where Parliament is an errand boy for the executive, now you see that therefore Socrates will be right. We have a problem. Democracy is in trouble because the institutions that democracy is supposed to climb on its shoulders are weak. They actually have become subservient to the institution of the executive. There's a large danger in that.
Oh. And so the implication, as you put it, is that our state as a country maybe reaffirming what Socrates envisioned for democracy.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, because Socrates was warning. Socrates was warning us that democracy is a tool. Like any other tool, in the wrong hands, democracy can become a